Good morning and welcome to Trail Grazers, where we focus on great food on the trail and take you along with us on our adventures. And we just finished a fantastic adventure on the Oregon coast at Newport, Oregon. Newport has been a place where I have been a number of times. For the first 5 or 6 times, it was taking groups of teachers to study the tide pools there on a grant that I had written for University of Nevada, Reno when I was a professor there. And then I loved it so much that Jim and I have been back 2 or 3 times. This time we made a car trip and we were gone from home a week. And that's the longest car trip we have probably taken for years. Usually we do little 3 or 4 day trips with our camping trailer, but this was actually a car trip. And we learned some things, and that is what we are going to share with you today. Last week we aired the video about our actual experience while we were in Newport and some of the fun things that we did, including a visit down to the tide pools, which both Jim and I just loved. But there are some things that we learned about a car trip that I think are important. While they do apply directly to us, some of these may also be helpful for those of you that may also be planning car trips. First of all, when we published 2 or 3 weeks ago the preview of what we were going to be doing when we went on our car trip, I asked for suggestions from our audience, from you, to see if there was anything that I had forgotten to list in terms of things that we should take. And there were a couple of suggestions that we really appreciated. First of all, someone suggested that I take a lap blanket, and so I did, and boy, was I so glad. I was so glad to have that. I used it both coming and going, and even in the hotel room as well. So that was a great suggestion. Several of you actually suggested that, so thank you. Several other people suggested that we take reading material. Now, usually I'm just on my phone when I'm not driving, but this time I knew that we were going to be in pretty barren country. We took a diagonal route from where we were through Nevada and into Oregon, along southern Oregon, until we hit the middle coast, and then we went inward and hit the beach. Most of the hundreds of miles that we were on those diagonal highways, they were state roads, they were pretty deserted and had no cell service for hours and hours at a time. So actually that was one thing that we determined was not really good for us. At our age, even though Jim's car is about a year old and in excellent condition, we knew we would be okay that way. But, we're aging, and our body strength isn't what it used to be, and changing a tire or doing something like that probably would have been a problem for us. So we have determined the number one thing that we're going to do is, even if it takes us a little bit longer, we're going to pretty much stick to more highly traveled roads, interstates, when we possibly can. So that was one lesson that we learned. Then, because we were not going to have cell coverage for very much, some people suggested that I take something else to read. Well, I'm an avid reader and a researcher, but generally not in the car. Generally in the car, I'm on my phone looking up articles and that kind of thing. I have a few favorites in the fictional genre, but mostly I do nonfiction. I love learning. And so I went to the bookcase and picked up this little book, On Tyranny by Timothy Snyder. Both Jim and I had read this, but it had been several years. It was on the New York Times bestseller list for a long time, 2 or 3 years, and published in several languages, read by millions of people. And Timothy Snyder is an extraordinarily accomplished historian, PhD from Oxford. And all of his books are very well researched, which I very much appreciate. So on the way up, we read Tyranny, and we just had the best discussions. And then while we were on the trip, we bought his brand new book, which is called On Freedom. And I am learning so much about what it actually means to be free, as he talks about failed governments historically, mostly in Eastern Europe, and the lessons that we can learn about freedom and from them. So we got about halfway through it, I think, on the way home, and I would read a little bit out loud, and then Jim and I would have a great conversation, and then I would read a little bit more. So that was really a wonderful thing. All right, so the next thing was I have a tendency for overkill. Jim knows that. He helps me try to rein myself in, but I am and always have been an overachiever. I overplan things, I overthink things. Isn't that right, honey?
Yes. Do you want me to come over there and get in line with you?
No, I need no commentary on that, I'm well aware. And so this was really a good time for us to test out some of the things that I had planned to see if they were really viable. So I shared my little personal travel bag, and we went through all of the things one by one as I showed you what I had here, including a pair of shoes stuck here in a secret compartment. The entire trip, I never unzipped this bag, which is okay. This is a bag that I will carry with me because I would rather have it and not need it than the other way around. And so I didn't even take in my little packet of charger cables because I had a little bank in a little power bank in my purse, and I just used that one in the hotel rooms. So that was one thing. Some of you may remember the video where we put together this kitchen suitcase with all the things that we would need in order to prepare meals in a hotel room. And we tried it out and it worked just great. But on this trip, this took up a whole lot of room. And so I opened this up, and from the supplies that were on the inside of that suitcase, I just selected this one. And this is one that has most of the meal prep stuff in it. So I'm just going to run through this really quickly. Cups, yes, I used cups. What I didn't plan on was, we're still in the 90s here, and it's hot, and we leave our door open, our screen door open at night in our bedroom for fresh air. And I'm not even thinking hot chocolate. It's not hot chocolate weather here yet. So I got up there, and it was 60 in the daytime and colder than that at night. But it was a very wet cold because we're right there on the ocean. And I yearned for hot chocolate. And so I did get some at the grocery store, little packets that I could mix in with milk, and these were good. Yes, we used our bowls. Yes, we used our plates. Yes, I used the cutlery. This is some plastic bags that I didn't need to use because we had some available in our hotel room. Dish towel, yes. This little sink came in very, very handy. It is a collapsible sink, and I just put this right down in the bathroom sink and did my dishes there, and it worked out absolutely great. So this was a great thing for us to have. And along with that, I had some dishwashing soap enclosed in a plastic bag, and it's a good thing because it's already leaked again. And a cutting board and knife I didn't need, but I'm glad I had it just in case. And then salt and pepper. Here's a little scrubber, some hot pads, and other things. So this little packet greatly reduced the size of what we had to carry in order to have our meals in the hotel room. So this was a good thing to do, and I'm glad that we really cut the size down. So how did we do with our food? Well, as I explained in our Getting Ready video that we did about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had planned to take some frozen meals for us. We wanted to eat out about half the time, and we wanted to eat in our hotel room about half of the time. One of the things that I learned about me in particular was that I kind of am a different person when we are traveling. When I'm at home and I have all my stuff around me, I behave differently than when I'm camping out in a hotel room for 4 or 5 days. And I discovered that sometimes I just don't want to fix a meal that I brought with us. And so we ended up I took 2 breakfasts and 4 entrees for dinner. And we did eat the 2 breakfasts, but we only ate 2 of the entrees. Now, I showed in our other video our great big cooler. And I said that for taking our frozen food, I wanted them to stay frozen. So we were going to put dry ice, and I showed you 2 bags. We ended up using this one, this little tiny cooler. The other one just wasn't insulated enough for dry ice. And so what happened with this one was this has a little tray that fits in the top. It has this plastic bin. And so this tray fits right on the top of the plastic bin like that. And I was able to put all 6 frozen meals right down here. And then we put 3 pounds of dry ice right here and closed it up. We traveled with the window cracked a little bit, and this was open so that the carbon dioxide could escape. This did fantastic. By the time we got to our hotel room, the dry ice was all gone. It lasted all through the first day and most of the second day on the road, but everything was still frozen. And our hotel room had a small refrigerator with a little tiny freezer at the top, and I was able to poke all of those meals except the one that we were going to have for dinner that night right up in that freezer. So that worked just great. Now, coming home was a little bit of a different story because I had 2 entrees that we didn't even use. And so we didn't want to get dry ice again. So and they were frozen when we left the hotel, and I just put them in a plastic bag and put them on top of ice in this cooler. Now with this cooler, this is the one that we carry for pulling out of the car when we're ready to have lunch on the road. We've done this on our day trips, and I thought, yes, this will work just great. I'll have 2 lunches in here ready for us so that on our 2 travel days we can stop and have lunch. I'll tell you, when we got in the car and got going, we stopped to use the restroom and to get gas, and it was a pain in the neck to think about trying to find a place to stop and have lunch. On the first day, I had made meatloaf sandwiches, and so at one of our gas stops, I opened this up, took the sandwiches out, and each one was cut in half. Jim had a half of his, I had a half of mine, and that was it. We were anxious to get back on the road again, so we put the lids back on the sandwiches, put them back in here, and we had them for supper that night in our hotel room. So that was one of the displacements for one of the entrees that we took. The next one was chicken salad. The next day we were going to stop and have some chicken salad on crackers. We didn't stop. We just kind of ate snacks and were perfectly fine with that. But we did have that chicken salad for lunch in our hotel room. So we learned some things about food. I packed too much food for us. And what I'm going to do next time, and we didn't take our big cooler. We ended up taking only the one with the dry ice in it and this one, plus we have one that we keep water and drinks in for traveling. We always have that one with us. But as I began figuring out my meals, I realized I didn't need a big cooler full of stuff from my refrigerator. We could go to the store after we got up there, and we bought 4 cups of yogurt. We bought half a gallon of milk so I could have hot chocolate, and we bought a packaged salad, and that was it. So we didn't need to even take our great big cooler. So that was eliminated from things that we had to pack. And so Jim was talking about that he was very glad we didn't take that big cooler because it's always so heavy when it's filled with everything. And it takes up a lot of space. So we minimized our utilization of space to where we were far more efficient there. I took way too many clothes. I took a new outfit for every day. I only used up half the clothes that I brought. So we learned some important things, but I think the most important things that we learned had very much to do with food and our attitudes while we're traveling. And so from now on, I don't think I'm going to fix lunches to take on the road. I think rather I will take some healthy snacks that we can just pull out. We bought granola bars and we bought little packages of chips in a big box. We had our snack bag. I took little container of mixed nuts from here, which was really good. We enjoyed those snacking as well. But while we're on the road, we just, I think, prefer to eat snacks rather than a full meal. So we did, while we were actually in Newport, we ate out at a nice restaurant, one breakfast and 2 lunches, and that was it. And one of those lunches was late enough in the afternoon. It was fish and chips. Oh my gosh, it was so good.
Moe's.
Yeah, at Moe's. and that was in our video that you probably watched last week. But that was late enough in the afternoon that it doubled for dinner, and we just had a few little snacks that night. So learned a lot about food, learned that I don't need to pack so much to take, learned that I need to be more economical in the things that I take to preserve space, and travel lighter with clothes, and stay on the interstate so that we're not out of cell coverage. So those are the things that we learned, and we will be implementing them in future car trips. We are to the point in the year where in the next couple of weeks, Jim is going to take our big trailer down and have it winterized. So we're done with trailer trips for this season. We do still have Blue that we haul on a little trailer we pull behind my truck. So we may have a little day trip with Blue in the coming months. But probably through the winter, most of our focus is going to be on various foods that we can make ahead and take with us on the trips. So thank you so much for being with us on this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it gave you ideas. And if these ideas trigger anything that you would like to share with us, we welcome your comments. We would appreciate that. And we will see you soon, somewhere, sometime, out there on the trail.